There is a quote by Sylvia Plath, and she says that I write only because there is a voice within me which can never be still.
Wow.
So this is quite apt for Peyush Bhatia, the guest of today that we have. And welcome to Peyush on our 134th episode under Trends Literature series. It's such a pleasure to see you today. And it's been long
Thank you.
overdue.
Thank you, Neeta. It's been long due. I've been waiting to be part of this.
Lovely. And to briefly introduce Piyush, Piyush is a life and a business coach. She's a psychotherapist. She's a healer. She's considered the queen of transformation, and rightly so. And she has written this wonderful book, Life Beyond Fears. I'm remembering a lot of quotes today, and there is one by Stephen King, and he says that, the scariest moment is always the first step that you take. So, Piyush, to begin with, what was the inspiration writing behind this book, and what was the kind of fear that you really overcome when you started to write this?
So, Neeta, it was mostly about my journey. So, I don't know if you are also aware. We've been friends for a long time. But there was a time in my life when I had my share of anxieties. I had claustrophobia. I could not be in a lift because I was so scared of the closed spaces. And I did not go for movies because I would be scared, ki, how would I get out of this place? And flying horrified me. I had to take an Alprex 25 minutes, 45 minutes before boarding a flight. And because I would be a bundle of nerves. So that was my story. And my relationships were not working. I didn't have a career in spite of being an engineer. So all this was going on in my life. And then when I realized all this, that when I worked on myself, I worked on my emotional, physical, mental health. That's when I realized that underlying everything is a fear, and we don't know how to deal with it. So when I learned this thing, going to different platforms, getting all this knowledge, looking at our spiritual scriptures and everywhere, I realized it's not difficult. It's not difficult to come out of fear. So that's when I decided I wanted to give this information to the world. So what better way than to write a book about it? So I wrote this book and I've given everything which is related to fear. So, Neeta, I believe there are only two emotions which are predominant in this world. One is fear and the other is love. So if you're in fear, that's when life doesn't work for you. But when you are in love, the antidote of fear is not courage, it's love. So when you are in love, that's when things start working for you. This life actually start presenting to you the gift of it. So this was my journey.
You rightly said, and you've been very frank about this in the beginning of the book. You've mentioned how you really conquered and how your journey in transformation and healing actually started when you took your life in control. I mean,
Yes.
that's a very important chapter. You've given it all out and you've mentioned about your fears. And you've also said that the knowledge that you gained over the years in conquering your own fears is how you started your own personal journey of healing, transforming people's life. There's so many I know who've been like really touched upon by you, and they changed forever. So will you like to also elaborate on your journey, which is so much part of you and the book and the whole journey that you've taken? You would like to talk about your journey in detail as to how it all started and how it all was for you.
So it started with this, it started with me battling with my mental health issues. It started with me battling with my anxieties, my claustrophobias. And then gradually when I went to learn about how does mind works, because that's what I thought. It's all in the mind. So I went on working on my mind. And that's when I realized that it's not only the mind. There is something called emotions which are responsible for every disease or everything that I'm feeling. So I learned about the emotions. I learned about the emotion quotient, how it works, what is going on there. Then this knowledge was also very, very, it wasn't complete. So I learned about how this body works. What is the role of emotions in our body? So I learned about how the body works, how the healings are done. So I've learned a number of modalities and I went from pillar to post to learn about everything. Then my answers were also coming from the spiritual side of me. Like I am a follower of Ananda Sangha, Yogananda ji. So I learned there. Earlier it was like I could not, I'm a very logical mind. So I'm an engineer by profession, right? So my mind was very logical. For me, if you tell me to meditate, I would not, because there's no logic. Why would I sit and meditate? क्यों मैं बैठूंगी आंखें बंद करके? And then when I got the logic, okay, what happens when I'm meditating? How my body is responding? How my hormones are getting secreted? How my body is healing? How my telomeres are getting longer? What is happening to my, the pineal gland? What's happening in my spine? And all these things. That's when I started using this information, and that's when my life started to change. My relationships improved, my health improved, my career actually started because of this. I never thought I'll be a life coach, but when I went through this journey and I realized that it was such a beautiful gift that I had received, that all this knowledge, when I actually compiled it, that's when I realized, okay, this is such a beautiful knowledge that I have, which if everybody knows, they can also, alter their lives, because people are struggling with stress nowadays. There is a lot of depression and anxiety outside. And we are called the suicide country or suicide capital of the world. So all this, when I compiled and now I'm presenting it to people, I'm doing life coaching. People come to me for one-to-ones where I'm helping people wean out of medicines. I'm helping people come out of depression, anxieties, suicidal tendencies, and I've been working on a lot of relationships. So it's thank God to for this, because on my retreats, so my second vertical is my retreats, which are very close to my heart. So it's like a total transformation in 3 nights and 4 days. So people go there, they come out of medicines, they heal their relationships, and they work on their money area, they work on their work-life balances. So that's about my other vertical. And then also I have my 1 year program, which is my brainchild, which is my baby, where I'm training people to become life coaches. In part from becoming life coaches, they are coming and they're learning all about the knowledge that I've accumulated all over the years. So that's my journey. This is my way of giving back to society, Neeta, because I have learned so much from everybody around. Like people, my teachers, my mentors have contributed so much to my life. So now I want everybody to have access to this knowledge, which maybe I got the hard way. So they say there is a Kensho moment and there is a Satori moment. You either change when there is a major thing which happens in your life, a negative thing, or you change when you get some insights. So why not change the Satori way instead of waiting for a Kensho moment to show up in your life?
Very right, and how profound and deep. And as I mentioned earlier, I know a lot of people who've been touched upon by the various programs that you do. And I feel everything falls in place one day or the other. When it fell in place for you, I suppose that was a big change in your life, and that has been a lot of big changes in a lot of people's life whom you've touched. And book is quite coming back to the book is quite dotted with your own personal experiences and learnings. So, what is the biggest takeaway do you think a person can take from your book, and maybe the few reasons why a person should be reading your book? I've read it, I've loved it, but coming from you and letting people know about it and the few takeaways you feel from the book. Yeah.
So, I feel this book is a very, very simple read. Like, if anybody sits down with this book, they can finish it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not a very difficult read, and I have used a lot of examples. I have used a lot of case studies from my clients. So these are all the things I have used on clients and worked with them and helped them come out of. So the biggest takeaway, if you can take away from this book, is that it's not, we are looking for something, we are looking for some rocket science, we are looking for some complex thing, oh, to change my life. Like, but underneath, if you see, everything is fear. Let's say, if people procrastinate, what's the fear? There's a fear of failure. Okay, when somebody is dealing with abandonment, there is a fear of rejection. We are perfectionists because there is a fear of judgment. So we also have a fear of public speaking because we feel we'll be judged. What will people say? Log kya kahenge? LKK. Okay, then relationships mein, what is the biggest fear? That I will get emotional pain. Somebody will hurt me. Vulnerable hone mein dar lagta hai, right? And then there is a fear of learning. Like, why would I go on studying? Learn one thing, learn another thing. Why? Because I feel somewhere I have a fear of being inadequate. So underlying everything, if you look, there is a fear which is sitting. So if you have to take away one thing from this book, is to understand fear is not going anywhere. Fear is not going to go anywhere. Doubt is never going to leave you, right? But only thing you can do is you can ask the fear and doubt to come with you, but don't allow the doubt and fear to drive your car.
Hmm.
And learn some simple techniques to come
Yeah,
out
I
of
know.
fear. Let's think about this. Let's say fear. What is fear actually? It's
Hmm.
false evidence appearing real. It's not even real. Then why be scared of it? Danger, I agree. There is a danger outside. When there is a danger of being harmed, your body is going to get harmed, or something is going to happen to your body. That's danger. That's understandable. But fear is just a imagination which is going on in your head. So why be scared of the imagination? And the only thing you can do is small things. Maybe you can only shift from the fear to the faith. They are actually two polarities of the same thing. An expectation. Fear is an expectation that something will go wrong. Faith is an expectation that something will go right. So just shift your focus and things will change. And having said that, it seems easy when you listen to me, but the simplest way I will tell you, if you are in fear, just try shifting to the present moment, because fear is either coming from the past or from it's about the something in the future. There's no fear, there's no stress in the present moment. So when you start living in the present moment, there's no fear. And the second most important thing is to come into the present moment is get into gratitude. Start looking at what are you grateful for in your life. So
That's a
Nita,
very
if you can
important chapter
only,
in your book. Yeah.
yes, and if you actually start doing these small things, they're very small things. Like I teach people very small things, and they're all part of our scriptures. I'm not coming out with something imaginary. It's all part of our scriptures. We all knew it, but we've forgotten it. So that's my takeaway. If you want to really take away something from my big book, is its fear is false evidence appearing real.
So right, and I must tell everyone that such beautiful pearls of wisdom being given by Piyush, and there's much more in the book, and I'm sure it's for the keeps. And whenever you want to get back and talk about fear insecurities, there's some very basic facts written in the book which you should read. There must be so many people who have read your book, and some lovely comments that you would have got. So maybe a few examples, or somebody really got back to you and said, oh, it changed me and changed my fears, and I was really happy going through it. So perhaps you would like to share that with us.
Yeah, so I have mentioned one example also in the book, and this it's a similar story to what happened in that book. So there is this husband wife. So I do relationship counseling, right? So the husband wife, they had come to me, and the wife was always fearful. She would
Mhm.
fight. There would be fights in the house. Their husband was not feeling happy because every time he was late, there would be a fight in the house, right? And then the husband and was they were going through a lot of, they were thinking of, they were contemplating divorce and kind of things, separation and all those. So they came to me and we started working together. And Nita, what we realized, the underlying was fear. What was the fear? The wife had a father
Mm.
who had extramarital affairs, right? And she was always fearful, okay, what if my husband also cheats on me?
Oh my God.
So she was trying to actually control her husband by controlling the time he comes, the time he spends with her, and all that. She was coming from her fears, and she didn't even realize it because that's a blind spot, right? Now the husband, on the other hand, had a controlling mother. He had always been controlled by his mother. So he was coming from a fear that, okay, this woman again, now this woman is like my mother, she's trying to control me. So this is what actually both of them were coming from their fears. Who was right, who was wrong? Both were right in their own place. So when they came and they worked with me, and before coming to me, they had read my book. And that is when they came to me, and the first sentence they said, ma'am, we are here because the same story which you have mentioned here, example which you mentioned here, we're going through that. And I am sure that now that we are sitting here, our life is going to change. And there have been many, many stories. This is one testimonial, but I have received a lot of testimonials. I think I posted on Insta also one testimonial like this. One girl who was dealing with bronchitis.
Hmm.
And she had this fear, a gripping fear all the time that nobody will marry her and all those things. And she read this book and she wrote to me that her bronchitis has gone down and now she is not on the puffs that she was taking and she's running 5 kilometers daily. That was a big achievement. There was another person who healed her, who had healed her thyroid,
Hmm.
which came down from, from higher levels, I think 15 to 5, some levels like that. And people have changed their lives just by reading this book. So I keep receiving this, and it's been on Amazon bestseller for a long time, and I'm very proud of this book. And because it was a big effort, and during the COVID times, I had written this book, and took a lot of effort. Like I used to take targets to write only 3 pages daily because it was a effort.
Yeah.
But now when I look at this product, I'm so proud. I'm so proud that it is making a difference.
No, no, I'm sure. And there are a lot of chapters in this book, and we just talked about this problem being solved about bronchitis. There is a chapter I remember on beyond genetics. I love the
Yeah.
concept of epigenetics that you talked about. So
Yes.
perhaps, how was it? Perhaps you'd like to elaborate on that. That's a very
Sure.
nice chapter. Just goes on to prove what others have been talking about and giving you
Yeah.
testimonials.
Yeah. So, Neeta, all this while, every time something happened to us, most of the time, what do? We blame our genes.
Yeah,
Our genes are like that. मुझे तो diabetes होगी because मेरे genes
yeah,
में हैं.
yeah,
Something like that. We always are blaming our genes for everything. And even the doctors say, you have parents who have diabetes. Like when they take your history, what do they do? Parents have diabetes,
yeah.
parents have BP, you had a cancer history, like that. So it seems as if our genes are to be blamed for everything. Now, if you think about it, are your genes really to be blamed for everything? Do you know how many proteins are getting formed? Maybe some lakhs. And how many genes do you have?
Hmm.
Maybe some thousands, right? I don't know the exact number right now, but that's how it is. So that means what? One gene is actually producing a number of proteins. So which gene will produce which protein? What does it depend upon? It depends upon the stimulus. And
Hmm.
where is the stimulus coming from? Stimulus is coming from the environment. And what is our environment? The environment is what is the kind of feeling or thinking I have. So if I'm in fear all the time, am I sending? So every time we have a thought, some chemicals get secreted. I'm giving you in a very layman's language, right? So the moment you have a fearful thought, cortisol gets secreted in your body, right? Now, if this cortisol is in your blood, and this is now the stimulus or the culture for your genes,
Hmm.
right? And if your genes are in that culture, what will happen? Now they will produce the proteins, the bad proteins, which will cause the cancer or the disease in your body. And the moment you change the stimulus, maybe
Hmm.
start thinking, having a peaceful thought or having a happy thought or a positive thought, you have actually changed the production of chemicals in the body. So when you feel love, we all know about those chemicals, right? When we are feeling happy, it's dopamine. When we are feeling love, it's oxytocin. So these chemicals which they come into your body, they are actually helping your genes to produce some good proteins. So, is it about your genes? Now, there is a study which says that there is something beyond genetics.
Yeah.
So, beyond genetics is epigenetics. And that's what I got inspired from this because of Bruce Lipton. And he's written a very beautiful book, which you can recommend to your viewers. It's called The Biology of Belief. And it's a wonderful book, and it changed my life.
Hmm.
So he talks about epigenetics a lot, and I follow him.
Very right. Because this was one chapter I loved going through because this is the misconception most of the times that you always try to blame your genes. You refuse to come out, you refuse to work. You also
Yes.
choose to not choose to surrender, coming to your very, very important chapter on choosing to
Yeah.
surrender. So, would you like to again give some hint? Rest people can definitely read your book and find out more, but still about choose to surrender,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, so what does surrender mean? So there are two types of things in your life. One you can control. right?
Mm.
The things that you can control, please go ahead and do something about it, right? If you can change something there, go and do it. That's your job. Be in action, right? But there are other things which you cannot control. But we keep stressing about those things which we cannot control. Actually, we stress about both the things, but we stress about more about the things which we cannot control. So if you can't control anything, you're actually harming your body by giving yourself stress hormones, right? So what can you do in that space? That is the time when you need to surrender to the higher self. You need to surrender and believe and be have faith. Okay, whatever is happening in my life is actually happening for my good. So do things happen just because? No, there are no coincidences in life. Everything happens for a reason. There is a reason behind it, and we can't see it. Like if I have to think about my life, maybe I dropped a year. I was working hard to get into a medical college. My mother wanted me to be a doctor. But I never got admission into a medical college, and I was forced to join engineering. Now, if you look at my life, I met my future husband there, right? I met Vikas there, and we got married. We had a beautiful family. And then now, if I think about it, okay, those 2 years were wasted because I was studying for medical college and I did not get through. So they got wasted. Did they? Today, if you look at me, I'm actually a doctor helping people, and all the knowledge, the physiology, the anatomy, everything that I learned there is actually helping me help people wean out of medicines to, have to heal and all that. So nothing happens just because.
Hmm.
There is a reason behind it. Only thing is we start fighting, and what we resist persists. So you need to surrender to the higher self, and whatever we all have heard this thing, okay? अगर अपनी इच्छा से हो तो बहुत अच्छा, नहीं तो हरी इच्छा
Yeah.
और भी अच्छा. So that's how you need to surrender to God.
So right. And I always feel, and I think I read this line in your book as well, that failure is an excellent mentor. And so are
Yeah.
the past experiences. I suppose nothing, as you just mentioned, nothing happens just not like that. It's always
Yes.
because, as you just mentioned. And also coming to the point of being in the present moment. And
Yeah.
I read a quote by Oprah Winfrey, as I just mentioned. I think it's a day of quotes today. So doing the best in the moment definitely puts you in the best place for the next moment. So your
Yeah.
book, your chapter on living in the moment, perhaps we'd like to speak a little bit on that, because this is how life should be. There is no past and
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
It's the moment that we're talking about.
Yes, the moment we are talking about. Actually, as I mentioned before, also, where is the stress? Where is the fear? Either it's coming from the past,
Yeah.
something happened in the past, you haven't forgiven, you
Hmm.
haven't forgotten, and you also have a past. Okay, I failed. There is a fear of failure sitting there. There is a fear of rejection. There is a fear of abandonment which is sitting there. And what will people say because you judge yourself? So all these fears are sitting in your past. Or there is a fear of uncertainty. You don't know what is going to happen, right? You have no idea how your future is going to be, right? So either you are stressing about your future or you're thinking about the past, right? You are never, most of us are never in this present moment, because now where is the actually there is no stress or pressure or fear in the present moment. So when you start living in this present moment, now you'll ask me, how do I live in this present moment? So the easiest way to live in this present moment is to focus on your breath.
Yeah.
When you start focusing on your breath, that is the time when you start coming back into this present moment. That's why meditation is so helpful, because meditation actually helps you to focus. It actually brings you into the present moment. When you close your eyes, you're not thinking about your past and you're not thinking about your future. You're just being. And that is when you are in this present moment, the most precious moment of your life. And when you start living from this moment, moment by moment, that's when your life changes.
So
That's when you are the creator. That's when you create, you say, and things happen.
it's very nice. The book you've divided into various headings, and all this that we're talking about today is definitely in various chapters treated as a different topic. I read the book and I was definitely taken in by the stories, the insights, and the experiences that you've mentioned. Quite enriching, I must say. So maybe I would like you to delve into the effect of fear. We mentioned this, maybe a few more things that you'd
Yeah.
like to mention. Effect of fear on perhaps relationships, health, career. So few tips, few hacks from you. Yeah.
So let's talk about one by one.
Yes.
So let's say health. Okay. So as I believe, like I have seen in my life, I have seen with people, we have certain emotions. And those emotions, if they are fear based, like if I'm feeling angry, why do I feel anger? Because there is a fear that somebody has broken the boundary which I had drawn. Somebody has broken the rules which I have. So when the rules are getting broken, I get fearful, right? And that's when I get angry. So when we get angry, what do? We do two things. Either we explode, and that's when we destroy our relationships with other people, or we implode. And when we are imploding, what are we doing? Do we forget about the anger that we had? If you look at our Indian women, what do? Most of the time, we'll just suppress ourselves, right? Now, when you suppress yourself and you keep the anger inside, you are actually thinking about the anger. So when you're thinking about the anger, are you keeping your fears inside? Because anger is again fear, right? Everything is fear. So when you have this fear and this anger inside, you're thinking about it. And now this small thing, it becomes big,
Hmm.
right? Now it becomes big and it stagnates. So wherever it stagnates in your life, it becomes a disease. So let's say you stagnate your anger in your heart, you'll have heart problem. You stagnate it in your shoulders, you'll have shoulder problems. So it's all fear, it's all emotion which is sitting in your body. Like you feel life is a burden, you'll have shoulder problems. If you feel you're not emotionally supported, you'll have back problems. If you suppress your anger and keep it unresolved anger inside your body, you'll have kidney problems, stones. So everything, every disease is actually a manifestation of the emotion, which is the underlying fear. So your disease actually starts with some fear, right? Now let's talk about relationships. Relationships, again, there is a fear. There's a fear to control, of being controlled. There is a fear of abandonment. There is a fear of rejection. There are so many, the fear of being inadequate. Nowadays, so many people are fearful of the hurt and the pain. Nahi ho jaye. So there is a fear that I should not get that emotional pain. So before you break up, I will reject you. So
Mhm.
I'll break up with you. So before that's they don't go and work on the underlying fears that they're holding inside them,
Mhm.
right? So this is where relationship issues come from. Then third is your career, right? So okay, if I'm fearful and I feel I'm not good enough, will you charge the amount of money that you deserve? You'll be scared, and that's the time when you will not charge or ask for what is yours, because you feel, I mean, because I have this fear of being inadequate, I will not ask for the amount of money that I deserve or I feel worthy of for my services. So actually, if you look at everything in your life, be it your health, your relationships, your career, everything, there's an underlying fear. There is, yeah.
It's very, very right. Though you've still mentioned in the book that some amount of fear definitely is still good for a lot of
Yes.
reasons. But at the same time, sometimes you wonder that, but then why have fear in our lives? Why God gave us fear at all? So what's the logic behind that? I know you're a very logical
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, this was the question I asked myself when I was listening to all these scriptures and everything, and
Yeah.
I read everywhere fear, 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 and fear se bahar niklo. So I was thinking, okay, God gave us these positive emotions to be happy, to be feel peaceful, and all that. Why did He give us all these negative emotions?
Yeah.
He gave us, right? Why were they given to us? So that is when I started questioning. So when I looked at fear, it actually was such a big thing for me, a revelation when
Mm.
I looked at that. And the first most important thing was, okay, fear is actually motivating us. So
Mm.
when you're fearful about, okay, let's say I want to create more money in my life. And because there is a fear, I'm not leaving my job. I'm fearful of starting a new business or a startup. There is a underlying fear. But this fear is actually motivating me to move out of my comfort zone because I want to create more money. So it is motivating me to move out of my comfort zone and create something. Now let's think about fear actually taught you. The first time you put a hand on a hot stove, right? And you got a jerk and you removed your hand. Now, next time you will not do it. You're careful, right? Now, it is actually helping you to learn something, right? And think about it. Fear is actually good. It's actually helping. Like a child is trying to put his fingers in the socket, right? The mother, because of the fear, will start screaming and shout at the child and save the child. So it's actually helping you to save yourself also. So there are many, many ways in which fear is given to us to help us strive through this world. So all these negative emotions, now that I'm working on it, I've found that jealousy is also good, anger is also good. So these are all the emotions that we have said, okay, we don't want it, but they were given to us for some reason.
So that is we are coming to the close of the conversation, and I must say that it is kind of ending on a positive note for a negative emotion. I mean, fear definitely will also let us
Yeah.
manifest our best lives.
Yes.
So in the end, I would like to ask you, what are your future plans? Are you writing another book? Are you? Oh, I know you're always constantly evolving. So what's next for you?
So yes, I'm writing a next book which is on chakras because they are the energy centers which we have in our body, and most of the people don't know much about it. We all know there are chakras because we're living in the Indian society, but how is it impacting my relationships, my health, again my career, and how how the chakras got developed and everything about chakras. So I'm writing a beautiful, beautiful book which is again going to be a very simple read, and 2024 we'll launch it and it will be available for people. Apart from that, I have been doing a lot of retreats for people, as I mentioned earlier. But nowadays, retreats which were mostly not open for everybody because there is some amount of work which goes on before I take those people on different retreats. Because my highest level of retreats are about meditating in the caves, Babaji caves in Dunagiri. So I have been planning more because people have been asking me. So I've been planning to have more retreats which will be open for different people during this 2024, and inshallah, let's see.
No, no. I mean, amazing, and all the best for your future endeavors for your book. And I'm sure we'll get back to another discussion as soon as your book is out. We'll not delay
Yeah,
it this
sure.
time. Yes.
Yes.
Any last words before I formally thank you for being on my show?
I just remember a small story which I love and I love to tell people is, there was this one time when Krishna and Balram, they were walking down in the forest, and there was a ghost of fear which came and started scaring Balram, and Balram was really scared, and every time he was scared and he was shrinking, the fear was getting bigger and bigger. So that's when one point he was so scared that he said, okay, let me go and bring my gada. And he said, okay, Krishna, you stay put. I'm going to get my gada. So he went to the other side. Now this fear, Bhoot, it started scaring Krishna. And Krishna pulled out his flute and he started playing that flute, and he went into a trance where he was with his gopis and he was having doing ras leela and enjoying that, and the fear was trying to scare him, but he was in his own space. And that's when the fear became, he shrunk and became small. So my only last words are, face your fears.
Mm.
And when you face your fears, because it's a natural emotion, so just allow it to pass because it's energy. Emotion is energy in motion. So if you allow this emotion, it will pass because energy can never be created nor destroyed, but it can be transmuted to one form to another. So allow it to pass and transmute it to a positive. And that's when you'll have all the power.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Piyush, for such a beautiful learning experience and talking about your book, Life Beyond Fears. We really wish you all the best in your pursuit and relentless energy of making a difference in everyone's life. And thank you. Thank you for
I want to thank you, and you are doing a very, very commendable job. You are bringing so many books on this platform, helping introducing us to beautiful, beautiful authors, and we are listening to their perspective, their stories, and their what was in their mind when they were writing these books. Keep up the good work, Neeta. Look forward to every time. Every time I look forward to your new episodes. Keep doing the good work.
Lovely. Thank you. That really kind of, motivates us. And but do not forget to subscribe to the channel so that more and
Yes,
more people can watch this episode and future episodes just as enlightening as yours. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you, Neeta. Thank you. Bye.